Just assume that. And the same goes for all the squad. Cori Bush, Rashid Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and Ilhan Omar and
Tlaib are facing serious primaries from their Democratic Party.
Bingo. And we all know from the way they treated like South Texas that despite what they say about Roe v. Wade, despite all the national level Democratic politics stuff, that they'll support a right-wing Democrat over a left-wing Democrat.
You're speaking of Henry Cuellar.
Yeah, I am. A good old Cuellar. Just because, and I want people to understand this. This is not just because they're evil and corrupt. It's also simple game theory. Since there's no alternative left organizations that really matter, they're all dependent on the Democrats since the Popular Front going all the way back to 1936. Any alternative to them is sectarian and not particularly useful in the United States. What other organization, other path can they go other than to make themselves politically irrelevant? Whereas a right-winger can change, and has done this historically. The reason why all the state houses in the South in 2000 went from Dixiecrat to Republican wasn't because they changed the representatives. It's because the representatives all changed the D to an R at the end of their name. That is very simple game theory.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here, because there's some podcasts that came across my feed of things I should watch that told me something very different, Derek. There was a group of young people, young colored people, that told me that it was Tom Hartman, Noam Chomsky, and Sam Seder, and the DSA.
Correct. Yep.
The white leftists, they told me, that is an impediment to building true political power. And you're telling me that there is no left?
The political left has been liquidated since, actually in the U.S., since Truman.
So Tom Hartman has nothing to do with stopping us from
all this is a distraction. All this is a parasocial distraction. I want people to really get that. It's a parasocial distraction. All these little sectarian groups. And look, I come out of a sectarian group. I get it. It's actually somewhat useful for getting a Marxist education as long as you don't let it brainwash you, okay? But they're useless. And they know it, which is why they focus on subcultural stuff and media likes and this, that, and the other. But it also leads to weird situations. I'm going to say something that's probably going to shock some people. I'm not a fan of Jimmy Dore, and I'm not saying this as a caveat. I think his politics are fucked up. But
now we're never going to get on that show.
I can't be here. I can't be here. I need to get the testimony.
You'll never be president, Varn. You'll never be president.
All right, I don't want to be president. But let's be honest about this though, and this is going to offend the other side. If I was listening to the Majority Report and I was listening to Jimmy Dore, who's more accurate on predicting what the Democrats are going to do?
You'll have to answer that one. I don't know.
Dore.
Yeah.
Dore is now what Dore offers as an alternative is bullshit, right? And I don't say this to like piss on Sam Seder. I think Sam Seder's fine. The problem that you have, if you adopt a popular front strategy with a fading bourgeois party that can't even manage the capitalist state competently, is you're stuck trying to make excuses for them to maintain your coalition.
Dore has been saying the same thing that Black Agenda Report has been saying for 15 years. The Democratic Party is a party of its corporate donors, and they will stab you in the back to fulfill the needs of those corporate donors, and they have no loyalty to working class people.
Is it stabbing you in the back though when you know it's coming at that point?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that you don't need to. I mean, at this point,
you don't need to go that
rocket science to realize that.
No, it's not. But this is my point, though. A lot of people are I'm already seeing the chat getting mad at me. I'm not saying that Dore is right. I think Dore is using that to pour people into to move people into a very dangerous politics.
Yes.
All right. What I'm saying, however, is the logic of the Popular Front, which almost all progressives are the children of, and it's in their natural habitat and instincts in a way they don't even realize. No one thinks they're in a popular front anymore. They think they're doing anti-fascist action or this, that, and the other, right? And the problem is, and this is an incentive structure that's screwed up, but this is a media incentive structure. If you start criticizing the Democratic Party sincerely and you want money, who's going to give it to you? But,
Tim's going to give it to you.
And notice what I also said, what they were right about. If you start looking at, like, if you want to listen to, like, who's right about Alex Jones and Glenn Greenwald?
Yeah.
Sam Seder is. Who's right about the way that James Lindsay and David Rubin were going to go? Sam Seder is. Absolutely. But notice what we're talking about there. We're talking about enemies of a progressive coalition, and they're calling it. What I tell people is don't just listen to people who reaffirm your current political position because they're flattering you. And in a decaying infrastructure and society, flattery is both appealing because it ameliorates the kind of normalization that you're experiencing in this broader economic context, right? It makes you feel like there's hope. But it also, frankly, removes your ability to actually enact and do the change that would make that hope possible. And it's not because Sam Seder is a bad actor. That's not the point. He absolutely isn't. If you think Sam Seder is ruining the left, you're a fool. This is not about individual actors. This is not about your individual consumption choices.
Mm-hmm.
When I say, like, when I say that Jimmy Dore is more accurate about what the Democrats in specific are going to do, he is. But he's carrying water for another team. All right? They've just taken the logic of the popular front, and instead of, trying to build something independent, they're picking out random parts of different things that look independent, the People's Party, patriotic socialism, some other such nonsense, but actually end up tailing the right.
Well, this is something that, I did some writing about, and Gene's going to republish one of these articles in Sublation soon. So hint, hint, hint. The idea that someone that says what you don't like is a grifter, and kind of ignoring the fact that some people can just be stupid, some people can be wrong, some people can have an ideology that you just don't agree with. But the idea, look, I'm going to say something, and I know it's going to get the whole chat buzzing, and fuck it, but I'm not putting it in the video essay. But force the vote, in my opinion, was the epitome of kayfabe. You do need people that legitimately believe something for that shit to play out and people to fall in line and pick sides. It doesn't even matter what the context was in that. It was the hype over the idea that got people so fired up and emotionally involved. And the way this works, and the way we look at news, even modern news media, especially post 9/11, is an emotional involvement to side picking, a good versus evil binary that is baked into all storytelling. So you're trying to find a good guy, and that's the side you're going to go on. And recently, someone that we know made a comment about the horrors of forced to vote. And it was horrifying to a degree because everyone kind of lost sight of what any of this shit was really about. Right?
Yeah. So, one of the things I will say, I actually do think that Dore is a grifter. And I can tell you my status on that is the way he played and was mealy-mouthed around controversies in COVID, which seemed to be very much like he moved from a critique of Democratic Party failures to flirting with but not endorsing, just asking the questions kind of narrative around like anti-vax conspiracism and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So if when people hear me, I'm just seeing the way people are responding, and it's not even a majority of your audience, but a lot of people really are kayfabe that they believe these media choices really matter. And a lot of the Jimmy Dore types are gone now because they just frankly moving right? They've just become right wingers. Let's be honest. We've also seen this with the Glenn Greenwald types, which if you knew Glenn Greenwald's long-term history, which I do, you would not have been surprised.
Exactly.
But my point is, if you only listen to people who flatter your political instincts and then tell people who push against you that you are ruining the left. I've literally seen this 3 times. Grow the fuck up. And I actually, in my audience, and I don't want to do this to your audience because
they deserve it, Varn.
Your audience is somewhat better than mine. That's funny. It's not the point. Like Sam has done good things for leftists.
Yes.
All right. He's done great things for leftists. That's not my point. My point is that he necessarily, because there is no political alternative built, has to defend the Democratic Party. And that makes him be in a situation where many times on those issues, he ends up carrying water for stuff he doesn't really want to carry water for and wearing egg on his face against people like Jimmy Dore. That is not to say that he's not a leftist, that he's ruining the left. And this is not me backtracking either before people think this. I've thought about this a long time. Your parasocial relationships do not make a politics, and they definitely do not make political power. Right? A lot of these sectarian groups that I was just disparaging have been right about some key things. That doesn't mean they're not weird sectarian groups.
But that was like the magic of that whole thing. There was no political power trying to be built around an idea of forcing any sort of
It was
vote.
Yeah.
It was the idea was like, look, you're energized by it. And we forget that everybody that does this, you look at your numbers, whether or not you start making your programming built around those numbers. That's all you. We definitely don't, because that's why we're so small. But a lot of people were looking at the numbers and they jumped on because it was popular. Right. And that's the world we live in right now. It's all about drama and gossip. We talked about this with music.
It's also a lot of guru speak, and I already see it in the chat. For example, gurus like to speak in vague forms, so that when you point out what they are aligning themselves with, someone can go, "You're smearing them." I'm literally seeing this right now because they didn't say that. Well, you're right, they didn't say that. They just entertain the idea as a question and then backtrack later. I literally watched a series of debates between someone pointing out all the specific instances where Jimmy Dore said something about COVID, and then watching his response to it, saying it's a smear, and going, this is relying on him platforming something, but then just going the ask the questions thing, which is not that different than what you see grifters like Alex Jones do. It's a matter of kind and type and sophistication. All right. Now, has Jimmy Dore actually said anything explicitly anti-vax? No. Has he, however, had people very politically close to anti-vaxxers on his show and push their narrative? Absolutely. Which tells you something in and of itself. I really want people to develop more critical skills about how they approach this shit as individuals, as a kind of self-defense. Because as things get worse in the global economic situation, this is going to become more common, and it's not even out of grifting or malice in certain cases. Like if you were to ask me who's more on my side, I will tell you Sam Seder any day. But if you want to ask me like who should you listen to on the Democrats, well, dissing the Democrats is easy, but it's also accurate. All right. And do you carry water for them at the end of the day is the question. Because right now, and I want people to listen to this very, very intently and get it through their skulls. All right? Right now, even average normie liberals are getting so frustrated with all parts of the Democratic Party, including the squad, that they will do nothing when a right wing takes stuff back this fall. And that is almost inevitable at this point. There's almost nothing the Democrats can do to reverse it, not even the stunt they pulled with Roe v. Wade, because that Roe v. Wade stunt made them look weak.
Well, the Roe v. Wade stuff, do you think it kind of called out the fact that...
Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe on your way out. You can catch the live stream of This Is Revolution every Tuesday through Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time and Saturday, 9 a.m. Pacific Time. This is Revolution.